We have enough good tweeters. We need people who are actually going to fight for what they say they're going to fight for. So and speaking of political homelessness, let's bring on Nick Brana, who was Bernie Sanders' in a 2016 campaign. He then started Draft Bernie, and then after Bernie turned his back on his own people who drafted him, we're starting People's Party. So we're starting a party that have, all those things that the Justice Democrats say they're going to do, we're actually going to do them. That's the difference. So I want to go to Mark Pocan's district, and I want to run against him because that's the closest one to Chicago where I grew up. And my campaign is going to be, I'm going to do whatever he says he's going to do. They're going to go, what do you think of Mark Pocan's position on this? I go, I love it. Well, then why are you running? Because I'm going to actually fight for that. He's not. Those would be hilarious interviews. So what's your position? My platform is exactly what his is. Well, then why are you running? Because he's not fighting for it. I will. I'm not looking to make friends. I'm looking to fight. I'm looking to make people scared that the people have showed up in the fucking people's house. So, Nick, what do you make of this? What do you make of what Marianne Williamson just said?
I think Marianne Williamson is absolutely correct. There's a lot of people that find themselves politically homeless, and we as the People's Party want to fix that because we're not taking corporate money, and we're doing better than that. When our representatives get there, we're going to be running representatives in 2022. We're going to be running for president in 2024, national ballot access across the country, all 50 states. And our representatives, you know what? You're never going to wonder whether they support Medicare for all, and they're going to fight for it because you're going to know that because they don't answer to Nancy Pelosi. They're not trying to get committee seats. They're not trying to horse trade with neoliberal Democrats. They're not afraid that the DCCC is going to come and primary them. That's not going to happen. So you're going to know where they stand when we elect them. That's what we plan on doing. I mean, you talked about it, Jimmy. The pay-go exemption is ludicrous. Ludicrous. That is nothing. Self-imposed wound that they get out. Now pay-go is only good as an exemption if you actually get the floor vote. They're not going to get the floor vote. So enough is enough. What this fight showed is that how are we supposed to move the corporate politicians in the Democratic Party if we cannot even get the progressives in the Democratic Party to follow what we say? The progressives in the Democratic Party are not even accountable to us. We put enormous pressure. We held the town hall. We had a petition with more than 40,000 people who signed. We called them to interviews. They didn't respond to anything. Not only did they not force the vote, Jimmy, they showed that they acted as if they are completely not accountable to us whatsoever. Like we don't deserve a response.
They didn't respond to anything. They didn't respond to Kyle Kalinske. They didn't respond to Crystal Ball. They didn't respond to Cornel West. They didn't respond to Marianne Williamson, Medea Benjamin. They didn't respond to Katie Halper. They didn't respond to Ryan Knight. They didn't respond to me. They didn't respond to anybody. There are 100,000 people watch that town hall. They didn't respond to anybody. 100,000. Ralph Nader said if you get 600 people in a room that your representative has to show up. They didn't show up. We had 100,000 people watching. They don't care. And let me say, imagine if the Justice Democrats were just justice something else. Imagine if they weren't inside the Democratic Party. They would work together to get their agenda instituted instead of not working together, having zero strategy, and rolling over for the corporatists, which is not exact opposite of what they said they would do. This is a failed experiment. We're living in extraordinary times. We don't have 10 years to take over the Democratic Party. We don't have 15 years. By the way, we've been trying to do this since I was fucking 10 years old. They've been trying to take over the Democratic Party. It ain't happening.
Tried.
Go ahead.
We tried. We tried for 4 years. Now the evidence is in. The verdict is in. And like you said, Jimmy, it's shame on them for the first time, and now it's shame on us because we know, because we can't even, the whole movement applying pressure on the squad and House progressives to keep a campaign promise of theirs. What a radical idea on a marker that AOC herself set. for the Democratic Party being a left party, getting a floor vote. She herself, just 1 year ago, said that's the benchmark of the Democratic Party being a left party. When she said, well, guess what? The minute that they have the leverage to fight for it, they back away from it. It's time for us to admit that we tried in the Democratic Party, and the institutional pressures to conform to leadership are too great. And now it's our fault. If we don't start a new party, it's fucking our fault. If we don't get this going, if we don't have something else to offer the American people in 2024, rather than a fascist and the status quo, because we went through that calculation. Guess what happened? Donald Trump won. The fascist is going to win. It's our fault if we don't do it. We've done this for 4 years here at the Movement for a People's Party. And if we don't get on board and do this, it's shame on us. And we are seriously going to lose fundamental freedoms in this country.
Who knows what we could have gotten had we fought? Who knows what would have started? Who knows what other group would have inspired? Who knows what that would have sparked? Who knows what would have that would have? Who knows? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You got to be seen fighting. That's why half the country doesn't fucking show up. You run around, you tweet your ass off, you talk tough, you talk badass, and when push comes to shove, you just roll over for the fucking machine, and then you wonder why half the people don't vote, and you wonder why Fraud Squad was trending. Do you really think those people are wrong? You really think the people who are saying Fraud Squad are fucking wrong? You're out of touch if you think that. You're out of touch. Fraud Squad is coming from the street. I didn't start that hashtag. That came from the street. That came from the grassroots. That's how people feel. They've been abandoned. People have been abandoned. These aren't normal times. And if you're not willing to make your elected representative, the one that you have the influence over, if you're not willing to make them afraid of you, then you're a failure. If they're not afraid of you, you are a failure. If they know that you're not going to rake them over the coals when they do the opposite of what they campaigned on, then you're failing. What is the point of you? No point. You're part of the problem now. Congrats.
This party is so fucking corporate now, the Democratic Party, that you can't even tell which of the two parties in the U.S. is the left party anymore.
There isn't one. I heard a guy say today, did I just say this? I heard a guy say today, Nick, that in any other country, Joe Biden would be a centrist. Or Joe Biden would be an extreme right-winger in any other. What are you fucking talking about? He's a nut imperialist maniac, warmonger. He fucking is prison. He wants to lock everybody up, and he's against single-payer health care. That makes him an extreme right-winger. What do people get out of saying that Joe Biden would be a moderate or a fucking centrist? And the guy's a fucking extreme right-winger.
A year ago, I heard a progressive say that she wouldn't even be in the same party as Joe Biden because he was such a right-winger.
Right.
Because he's such a right-winger that progressives wouldn't even be in the same party. They'd be in a different party. You know who that was? AOC. When at the same time that she said we don't have a left party in this country, she said the Democratic Party is a right party.
That's right.
Or a center-right party.
She said it. She said the party is center-right. And Joe Biden is the furthest right in that party.
We're going to veto Medicare for all. We went from Obama, 2008. We went from Nancy Pelosi, 1994, Medicare for all, support Medicare for all, right? 2008, Obama, Medicare for all, gets full majorities. House, Senate, nothing. And sure, it passes Romney care.
Romney care. Without a public option.
12 years later, Kamala Harris. The new one that's dangling Medicare for all in front of us. Hey, stick with Joe Biden because eventually we'll get Kamala Harris, who was backing away from Medicare for all in the Senate in the middle of the campaign, right? And so now you literally have organizations who've been advocating for single payer who are talking about a 8 to 12 year timeline. Unbelievable. Where is the urgency? Where is the reflection of the sense of pain that people have?
There is no urgency, Nick. Then maybe that's the urgency police calling you right now. All right, well, we got to wrap up this segment. What else would you like to? What else would you like to say? We're going to be doing a lot more segments on this. Believe me, this isn't over because apparently they negotiated something behind the scenes and they're going to let us know what it was. Do you believe that, Nick?
No,
I
they
don't
would have
either.
told us immediately.
They would have told us immediately
so that
what they
people
got.
maintain some semblance of confidence in them.
That's what that Pago thing, that bullshit propaganda piece by Ryan Grimm was. That was the Intercept working in tandem with the fucking Squad to do propaganda. That look, we got you something. That's what they think was the There's no other secret negotiation.
No, there's nothing. There's nothing.
In
Look,
fact, AOC afterwards said the reason why she voted for her wasn't because we negotiated something, was because of the rule of law. Because Donald Trump.
Afterwards, we remember, Jimmy. Remember when we were told that during the general election of 2020, we needed to unite with the corporate Democrats.
Yes.
Because we needed to stand strong,
yes,
united against Donald Trump.
Because of
right?
Trump. Because
we could air our issues after the election.
After the election.
Right. Well, guess what? Now it's after the election.
That's right.
2 months ago. And apparently AOC is citing Donald Trump as the reason
why
we can't force the vote for Medicare for all. What?
Donald Trump? Because of Donald Trump. Still, we can't do anything because of Donald Trump. That's unbelievable.
Stay united. Later never comes in this damn party. It's always in the future.
If we can't, anybody who tells you that Pago is a good thing, whatever they got, that exemption and that not to be too hard on the Justice Democrats, ask them what their timeline is for a vote on Medicare for all. They don't have one. They don't have one. They're never going to have one. And shame on them. All right.
Democrats are never going to pass single payer.
Ever.
Decade. The single payer is how the Democrats keep us in their party.
That's right.
Anytime we're getting too rambunctious, they dangle it in front of us, and we never get anything. Trump's Republicans were the ones who shut down the TPP.
That's right.
Trump, the Democrats gave the Republicans, and they gave Trump more money for the military than he asked for. More Senate Democrats voted against giving you a $2,000 check than Senate Republicans. So which is the left party in the U.S. anymore? It all seems like one massive corporate morass to me.
It'd be just as effective to be a Justice Republican. And in fact,
right.
for some reason, the people who are the minority in the Republican Party actually wield their power. The Freedom Caucus did it left and right, and they made John Boehner crazy so much so that he fucking quit. And it's amazing. And they actually did something. They primaried the number 2 Republican in the House, and then they took it over. And it culminated with Donald Trump being elected president. That's the Tea Party and the Freedom Caucus. That's their success. That's their success. So AOC primaries the number 4 guy in the House, and then votes exactly like he does.
The bottom line is that if you can't move the progressives, if not even the progressives are accountable to you and you can't move them, you are never going to move the corporate Democrats, okay? They have slowed the number of people coming into Congress who expanding the Squad. What is it, 2 or 3 people per year?
Yes.
Okay?
Shit.
And every year, every 4 years, they block the presidential candidate. What kind of timeline is this? And then the people who are getting elected are actively being reeled into the establishment. They're being moderated. Their policies are being moderated. That demolishes the entire Justice Democrats' theory of change, that you can go into the party and you can elect people as if you're going to collect enough of them, and then they're going to eventually be the majority in the party. No, because the ones that you're putting there are actively regressing while you're trying to elect the next one. Look at what a difference 2 years made. 2 years.
How can you be, if you're a Justice Democrat supporter, how do you not feel betrayed? Of course they do. The actual people who volunteered for AOC, they feel betrayed. Because they're being betrayed. How do you not feel betrayed if you're a Justice Democrat supporter and they didn't fucking ever talk to us? They didn't even talk to Kyle Kalinske, the guy who founded the Justice Democrats. They didn't even reach out to him on #ForceTheVote. Nothing. Aren't you upset that they're ignoring half of the progressive movement? They're ignoring Cornel West. They're ignoring not me. They're ignoring Cornel West. They're ignoring fucking Kyle Kalinske, the founder of the Justice Democrats. The Justice Democrats ignored him. Kyle Kalinske came to the town hall. They didn't. Kyle Kalinske advocated for hashtag force the vote because he knows it's right. Justice Democrats didn't do it. Do you think because they didn't think it was right? Everyone knows this was the right strategy. Everyone. And that's why the people who are against it are getting outed. They're being revealed. Yes, you're supposed to question their motives. This idea you're not supposed to question people's motives when they scream Medicare for all and let's force the vote and then when the time comes and they don't, you have to question their motives, and that's what people are doing. You saying don't do that isn't going to stop people from having their natural reaction to questioning people's motives, like Cenk fucking Uygur and Anna Kasparian and the TYT, their own audience. 86% of TYT's own audience is for hashtag force the vote. It's kind of like the Democratic Party, isn't it? The Democratic Party, 88% of us are for single-payer healthcare, Medicare for all now, but the leadership isn't. The Young Turks' own audience, 86% of them is for hashtag force the vote now, except their leadership. Isn't that weird? And I wonder why that is. You have to question their motives. Of course they are. I was told by an executive at the Young Turks that after they took the $20 million that we know we have to turn to the center. That was an executive at the Young Turks told me that. I know we have to turn to the center. And they did. And I bit my tongue for 4 years. And then I have a good idea and Cenk Uygur makes himself the instrument to stop it by smearing me publicly. That's unbelievable. And of course I'm going to question their motives. And if you don't, you're a chump. You're a fucking chump. Just like you're a chump to keep supporting a fucking Democrats who just sold you out.
Anybody who, whatever your excuses that you were making for not having an independent party, that's out of the window. Okay? Because it is now abundantly clear. You are either now going to accept the fact that the Democratic Party cannot be reformed and accept what happened right in front of your very eyes, where the progressives that had power did nothing, or you're going to stop pretending that you support this movement and that your allegiance is to the issues first.
The idea that we're supposed to be nice to the squad because they agree with our policy positions when it's easy, that they agree with us 98% of the time, so we should never rake them over their coals. Let me just tell you this. I share 99% of my genes with a monkey. It's that 1% that really makes all the difference, isn't it? Nick Brana, thank you so much. People's Party, peoplesparty.org. It's time for a third party. Taking over the Democratic Party from the inside is a failed experiment, if you haven't noticed, but everyone has. Marianne Williamson certainly notices. She's in a political wilderness. She's abandoned. We're abandoned. We've been abandoned by our government. We've been abandoned by the progressives we elected, and they're giving us right-wing talking points. Rule of law. That's the reason AOC gave. She didn't say we negotiated shit and I'll tell you later. She said, I voted for him for the fucking rule of law. That's why I voted for Nancy Pelosi. She didn't say I got something I'll tell you later. Don't be a chump. Nick Brana, peoplesparty.org. Now's the time. Now's the time. It's abundantly clear. If we have any chance whatsoever, it's going to be a third party. Dr. Richard Wolff says it. Cornel West says it. I've been saying it for 5 years. It's obvious. It's obvious. This is a fucking fail. Bernie Sanders twice rolls over for the machine twice. Can't wait to be a cuck, as Kyle Kalinske called him for rolling over to the establishment for not getting anything. A cuck. What is going on? Bernie Sanders is a cuck. Then the next time we have a thing to happen, every one of the squad sells us out, abandons us for their own celebrity and career. When does the fight start? When does that start? What's the date? When day does that start? There ain't no fucking fight inside the Democratic Party. You're fooling yourself. There ain't. And if you really want to help the country, and if you really want to get people single-payer health care, you'll start scaring the shit out of the politicians that you're the closest to. Fucking, dude, how do you not get that? Hey, if we just be nicer, because my life is comfortable. I'll just be nicer to everybody. We'll have dulcet tone conversations. And I'll bring chocolates, and people will keep fucking dying. And people's lives will keep being ripped apart. People will keep going into bankruptcy, and people will keep having cancer because they worry so much about medical bills. Peoplesparty.org. Nick Brana, thank you very much. Time has come. The time is now. Dr. Richard Wolff is right. The only thing that could save this country is a third party. That's the only thing.
We're starting this new party. You're with us, Jimmy. Dr. Cornel West is with us. Chase Iron Eyes is with us. Chris Smalls is with us. Caitlin Sapasi Belknap. Omar Fernandez.
Medea Benjamin.
Malone, Rose McGowan. Ryan Knight. Susan Sarandon. That's everybody, okay? This is everybody who was on the Bernie campaign, who really stood for something, is joining with us. This is happening. Let's make it happen. And guess what? The progressive movement is late to the party.
Yeah.
Because 60% of Americans before now, the 60% who are fucking suffering all the time, already wanted this. And they've wanted it for years. A majority of Americans have wanted it for years. So we're late to the party. So guess what? Here's a radical concept. Okay? We take our cues from the people about what policies we support. All of our policies, Medicare for all, getting money out of politics, a Green New Deal, supermajority policies across the board. Well, guess what? Working people are also telling us how they want that accomplished. They're telling us how it needs to happen. They're telling us, no, we know better. We know better. We don't need to study this shit. We've lived it. We've lived it for decades. And we know red, blue, RD, it doesn't fucking matter. Our lives get worse. And so we need a new party. They have no experience. The people in the United States, the people of every other country, they have multiple parties, right? Here in the United States, we're told that we need to put up with only two that are basically the same. Everybody knows better. People in this country have almost no experience with what a multi-party system looks like, with what independent parties look like. And yet still you have 60% of them who are saying, yes, it's fundamental to the functioning of this democracy that we need an independent party. So here's a bright idea, okay? Stop listening to whoever the fuck is telling you not to do it and join with us because it's happening. And the American people know better, and they've known better for a long time, and they've told us what they wanted to happen for a long time, and now we're finally doing what they told us.
All right, Nick Brana, peoplesparty.org. We're going to hear a lot more from you. We're going to be doing a lot more. Go to peoplesparty.org. It's time. Time has come. Hey, everybody, this is the part where I tell you where all our live shows are, but there aren't any. And then this is why I tell you to join our premium program and get extra content, but nobody's got a fucking job. So just enjoy the video.